Thank you very much, Dr. Jesse, for being here. My question is, you heard earlier Dr. McCoy, and for the record, I mean, Dr. McCoy is not a medical doctor, so raised a number of concerns with the choice card provision in the Sanders-McCain bill. Do you see any problems with VA's ability to provide veterans with eligibility verification, such as choice cards to see non-VA doctors?
You know, I don't know explicitly, but we've been doing this. There are several different methodologies for purchase non-VA care, one of which is fee, although that term tends to be used as an encompassing. And when we give somebody a fee card, it's equivalent to that. It is the authorization for you to go out and get your care. And there are some limits around that. It's not a pre-authorization, but there are bounds about what care can be provided, and if it has to exceed that, then they get authorization. I believe that's the way it works. So it should not be an inhibiting factor, and I think you heard from Philip Makowski the other night that, you know, he really is putting rigor and discipline around our business processes. And I think if that were the type of case, it would not be a phone call to a random number somewhere. There, we would have one of the health resource centers run by the business office would be managing that. I would presume until we have a law and we have the regulations around it, it's a little bit difficult to speculate. But we have the capability to do that.
Okay. So when the VA does it today, do you have any problems with verification?
Well, I'm not going to say it's perfect, but I think, you know, for most cases it's effective. You know, we've been always looking at better ways to do it. Project Hero and Project Arch, we're set up for that as pilots to see if there's a better way to get that distributed care out there.
And Project Act, as you know, is in Maine. It's
yes, I know.
Veterans and everyone, they love the way that's been working. So the VISN structure has been under scrutiny for a few years now, and I understand that VHA has reduced the number of headquarters staff through a realignment effort. Is that process finished?
Well, I'd rather think of it as a work in progress. So there was a task force, a group that looked at this, and clearly there was wide variation in the size of each of the VISNs that could not be explained on either the size of the VISNs themselves, meaning their total number of unique veterans, or their purpose, because their purpose is inherently the same. So what this group did was they came back and clearly defined the core roles that needed to be in each VISN office, and some limited amount of flexibility around that, which was fundamentally driven around the size of the VISN. And so we went from a variation of, I think at the low end, just under 40 people in a VISN office to a high end of 160, to that they're all now between, I think, about 55 and 65. Clearly defined roles. This is what you must have in there. It's a little bit of flexibility. But there is not an ability to continue to flex up that staffing without coming in for further review. And I say it's a work in progress because it's been pushed out this year. We'll see how it works. Constantly looking at it, and if it needs to be smaller, we'll make it smaller. If it needs to be bigger, we'll make it bigger. Or if we need to rethink the process entirely. But that's what we did. So we tried to standardize at the VISN level.
Thank you. And just to follow up on the chairman's comments about getting a directive from central office and having the VISNs carry through that directive, and these are, you know, I've heard comments that the folks at the VISN level are more concerned about the VISN director's interest in how things are run versus the secretary's, because the secretary comes and goes. And I've also heard it not on the VBA side as well, when the American Legion went out to do their system we're saving, brought note to the fact to VA employees that's not what central office said you should be doing for the benefits, and the response, and this is the Baltimore, Maryland VBA, was, well, there's the VA way of doing things, and then there's the Baltimore way of doing things, and we're doing it the Baltimore way. So I think there really is a problem in some of the areas, and I would encourage you to make sure that when the directive does come, that it's followed through. And the other note I want to say, since my time's running out, when you look at Department of Defense, they have the world divided up in 7 different regions. And I question whether or not we need 21 VISNs throughout the country. So, and on that note, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.